Am I the a-hole for telling my husband he's made me reconsider leaving him alone with the kids in the future? Hi, I wanted to get some opinions on whether I was in the wrong here. It was my niece's wedding this weekend. She's my oldest niece, the first among her cousins to get married, and I'm very close to her. There were also several events happening last week, so I took the entire week off from work and flew out the weekend before. My husband and our kids, a 12-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son, were supposed to fly in on Friday for the main event. Before I left, I prepared enough food for them to last the entire time. The meals they were supposed to eat first were put in the fridge, and the rest were in the freezer. All they had to do was let the food thaw, put it in a pan or pot, add some water, and heat it up. I also marinated chicken separately for them to cook in the oven. For the kids' school lunches, I told my husband what needed to be made and explained that it would take about 20 minutes in the morning, so he should factor that in. He said he understood. Now, this part is on me too. For the first 2 days, I made sure to ask during our calls whether the food situation was going well. After that, I didn't bring it up again. Between all the wedding events and activities, I got distracted. When they flew in, I asked if everything had gone well and whether they had run out of food. He said no and that there was more than enough, which made me feel better. However, when we got home yesterday, there was far more food left than I expected. I brought it up and found out that after the initial refrigerated meals were gone, even thawing and reheating the food felt like too much work, so they defaulted to eating out. He had also been giving the kids lunch money instead of making their homemade lunches. I was really annoyed. I told him I was disappointed and that I would now have to think twice before ever leaving him alone with the kids again. He got upset too and said I wasn't giving him credit for taking care of them. He said the kids were happy, they were safe, there were no emergencies, and that should be enough. He also said it was messed up for me to say that I didn't trust him with the kids. We were pretty curt with each other this morning. Edit, I just want to add that we discussed what I should leave for them before I started cooking. I asked the kids what they wanted and talked it over with my husband. He even asked me to make his favorite meal, which ended up being the first one they ate. Also, yes, I do work. I'm a dentist and own my own practice. Editing again, a lot of people are saying there was no need for me to do all the prep. I understand that. I'm not saying it's the best system, it's just the structure we've had. It's what the kids are used to, and I didn't want to disrupt that. Normally, I pick up the kids on my way back from the clinic and make them lunch. 3 times a week, I also go to a dental center in the evenings, so before I leave, I usually have dinner partially set up and snacks prepared for them. By the time I get home, they're usually full, and I can finish making dinner. They're very used to homemade food. And yes, I should have started teaching the kids how to cook. They're busy with school, extracurriculars, and friends, so I avoided pushing that responsibility on them, but gradual responsibility does sound like a good idea. After reading the comments, I recognize that I probably crossed a line, and I plan to apologize to my husband. Final update, this was my first time asking for opinions on Reddit, and I'm honestly glad I did. The feedback was helpful. While my husband really should have told me ahead of time that he didn't plan on reheating the food I prepared, I crossed a line with what I said. It made it sound like I didn't trust him with the kids, which isn't how I feel, but I understand how it came across that way. I apologized to him for what I said. We had already mostly moved past it, but I still felt it was important to address it properly. He was understanding and said he could see why I reacted the way I did. I've also read many comments saying that I need to learn to let go a bit, and maybe they're right. I think I've held on for so long because, in my eyes, they're still my babies. I didn't want anything to interfere with their studies, friendships, or fun. But I realize now that I'm not doing them any favors by not slowly delegating responsibility. I've started having them help me with cooking dinner, and my goal is to get them to a point where they can at least prepare something simple or reheat food if I'm stuck at work. They actually seem to enjoy helping. Thank you.